Hello everybody and welcome to a brand new Elder Scrolls Online video with me, Sherman. Today, patch 3.2.0 is out on PTS. That means the Clockwork City is getting applied there. I don't know if it's actually there yet because mine has just started updating the new patch. As you can see, I'm waiting for it to come online and everything like that to be able to finish patching so I can play it. But we are getting a lot of really cool things in here with this new update. I just read over the patch notes just to make sure I give you guys the correct information. So let's go ahead and we're going to skip through a lot of this real quick. The patch size is going to be 3.7 gigs, just so you guys know when it comes out on the live servers, which is going to be approximately about, and I'm going to say about, 5 to 6 weeks from today. We will have this out on they will have this out on live. They do this every time. They say, oh, it's going to be a couple months. They said this on Friday that it was going to be a couple months. A couple months? Okay. So the rest of this month and next month, and then we're going to get it. We get it. It's cool. But I'm really excited about this. You guys are going to love some of these changes. So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of skip through some of this. They talk about the Clockwork City. They talk about the new Brass Fortress stuff. They talk about new world bosses. They mentioned 2 of them here, and they mentioned 2 delves. This is really cool. I can't wait to get in here and test them. There is also new sites to explore, which they mentioned both of them, and then the new Asylum Sanatorium. Now, this is a 12-man trial that has both normal and veteran modes, and of course hard mode. Normal mode and veteran mode can be completed in any order, and there is also the Asylum weapons which are being added. Now, to complete this on the most difficult of difficult challenges, you have to play it on vet mode, and you have to take on all 3 of the bosses at the same time. So this is going to be really challenging until you get them. Until we learn people learn the mechanics. I don't foresee even Hodor having this down within the first week, because we're talking taking on all 3 bosses at the same time. We don't know the mechanics yet, but it's going to take people time to learn those mechanics and get them down. Once they do, I promise you there will be guides galore on how to farm this. Why? Because we are getting the Asylum and a perfect Asylum weapons. Much as the Masters and Maelstrom weapons before, the Asylum and Perfect Asylum weapons alter and improve the effects of one of your weapon skill line's abilities. Perfect Asylum weapons have the same benefits as imperfect Asylum weapons, but at a greater magnitude. Perfect Asylum weapons are available only to those intrepid heroes who can conquer the hardest battle available in Sanctum, the Asylum Sanctorium. St. Olms and both his allies fighting alongside one another. So that's how you have to get these new Asylum weapons. For a full list, they're going to explain it down below. They kind of go over some of the stuff here in how to earn different things. I don't really want to kind of go over any of that because I'm probably not going to get on be on PTS to do this time around. I'll probably have to wait until it comes out. New collectibles, guys. There's a new combat pet, non-combat pet, and there's a new emote, a new memento, and then unique furnishings. Looks like there's a couple furnishings. A new skin and a new polymorph are going to be available with this item, with this DLC. New item sets, and I can't even. There's 12, guys. 3 item sets available for crafting, 3 from the Clockwork City drops, and then there is 6 from the Asylum. So, and this is crazy. I cannot believe the sets that they're adding. So we're going to go over these sets individually. First set is Clockwork City Crafted, Innate Axiom, whatever. Max Magicka, Max Stamina, Spell Crit, Weapon Crit, and adds 400 spell and weapon damage to your class abilities. This just made hybrids viable. 100% viable. I don't care what anyone says. This just did it. Thank you, dev gods. This is awesome. The reason why it's so awesome is any of your class abilities. So even if you're running a sword and board, or you're running a, two-handed sword, staff, whatever, you're going to get the weapon damage from the other gear set you might use. So in this case, like using, what is that? Vicious Serpent with this would be really powerful. Because even on if you're using Magicka side, you can still get 400 spell damage out of it. So you can still hybridize. It's not going to be super OP, but it does make hybrids even more viable now. And I think I know why they're trying to do that. we're getting so many extra champion points that we're really not needing to put in, or not wanting to waste them in other areas of our character. The only place that we can really put them now is going into the Magicka side or into the Stamina side, whether we're Magicka or Stamina DPS. When you're playing a tank, I'm at the point where I have no place I can really put points other than into the Magicka side now, and it's like, because I'm already at like the 20% bonus, the 10% bonuses. I don't need really any more than that, and this is going to give me that chance to really kind of broaden my horizons and think about maybe taking my tank, especially my Templar tank, into this new hybridized setup, and I think it would be really cool. Next up is the brass, fortified brass, max health, physical resistance, spell resistance, and then the 5-piece bonus, guys. It adds 5,170 physical and spell resistance, along with 2,900 and something spell and physical resistance. That is absurd. That is like super tank gear right there. Oh my god. Okay, mechanical Acuity, weapon damage, spell damage, max stam, max magicka, and then when you deal damage, you have a 15% chance to gain unerring mechanical vision for 5 seconds, causing your attacks to always be critical strike. This effect can occur once every 18 seconds. Do you guys realize what that means? Whenever you deal damage, you have a 15% chance to create mechanical vision, to apply this to yourself. This means all of your hits for 5 seconds will be critical strikes. That's crazy. Now we're moving on to the drop sets. The first one is the Mad Tinker. Spell crit, spell damage. So this is a secondary set to a primary set. So you would actually combo this set here with something like this up here, because this is a second or a primary set. This is a primary set, this is a primary set, this is a secondary set. So it would be great to combo one of these with like this, because you're going to get the spell crit, you're going to get the spell damage, and then when you deal damage, you have a 10% chance to summon a Verminous Fabricant that charges the nearest enemy, dealing 10,000 shock damage to all enemies in its path, knocking them into the air and stunning them for 2 seconds. This effect can occur once every 10 seconds. That's going to be a really good set for a Magicka DPS playing a Sorc. That is going to be insane, because they get their tooltip or their elemental expert added to this 10,000 shock damage. That's going to be crazy powerful. Alright, moving on. Unfathomable Darkness, weapon critical, physical penetration, which the last update we got a set that had I think it had magic penetration, and then had spell damage and weapon spell critical. So this time we're getting the opposite. When you deal damage, you have a 10% chance to call a murder of crows around you for 12 seconds. Every 3 seconds, a crow will be sent out to peck the closest enemy in 12 meters of you for 4,800 damage, physical damage. This effect can occur once every 15 seconds. The 15 seconds is kind of, but it's the fact that you can put this set here with something like Hunting's Rage, and then still wear a monster set, run dual wield on the front bar and a bow on the back bar, and only have this 5-piece up when you're on the dual wield. So you'll still be able to summon all these crows, even though this is a secondary or a primary set. You could do that, or you could make this where this is up all the time, and your Hunting's Rage, the 299 weapon damage, is only available when you're on the front bar. But either way you go with this, it's a really good thing that you have this 10% chance to do that, and then those crows have that extra damage. So this, with like Hunting's Rage, running a monster set, say Celine's, Veladrith's, or Stormfist, would be a really, really good setup. Moving on, Livewire. This is the heavy armor one. I'm really impressed with this. Healing taken, max health, extra healing taken, and then when you take damage, you have a 25% chance to overload your circuits, applying concussion to enemies within 8 meters of you, and healing for 1,000 health for each enemy hit. This effect can occur once every 10 seconds. So this means that I can apply concussion every 8 seconds if I was wearing this on a tank. That concussion also, it gives minor vulnerability. So that's a pretty powerful tank set right there. And the fact that it's going to do damage or it's going to heal you for every enemy hit for 1,000 health. It makes it even more powerful. Alright, now we're getting in the Asylum stuff. The perfect versions drop in veteran difficulty, while normal versions, this is the Asylum stuff, drops in normal difficulty. That means we can get these in either version. The two cannot be mixed together to complete a full set. For dual wield and one-handed and shield, the difference between the two are numerical values. So there's just some differences, but you cannot put these two together. You can't use the perfect and a non-perfect together. You can only use one version. So you can use this with a Maelstrom weapon, which is going to be, you guys are going to be amazed, because this is going to make perfect sense. Alright, Chaotic Whirlwind. This is the perfect version. When you deal damage with Whirlwind, you add 10 seconds to your active Twin Slashes, Lacerate, and Blade Cloak over time effects. This effect can occur once per cast of those abilities. So that means when you use this, you add 10 seconds of duration to Twin Slashes, Lacerate, and Blade Cloak. That's crazy powerful. Next up, Chaotic Whirlwind. This is the other version. This is not the perfect version. This is the imperfect version, and it only gives you 8 seconds. So even 8 seconds is crazy. Alright, Concentrated Force. Force Shock always applies burning, concussions, and shield status effects. This effect can occur once every 4 seconds. Well, those effects last 4 seconds. So that means every time you apply Force Shock, you will apply burning, concussed, and shield. That means you apply minor main, minor vulnerability, and burning, and damage over time with one ability. One lasts 4 seconds per enemy, one is 5 seconds per enemy. So it doesn't matter. Either one of these is going to be good. Defensive Position. This is a really, really good one, especially for Magicka DKs or Magicka tanks, because using a sword and shield on a Magicka tank in some cases is just bleh, because there's no way to really get Magicka back. Now, when you reflect or absorb a projectile with defensive posture, you restore 2,000 Magicka. If the defensive posture expires without it reflecting or absorbing a spell or projectile, you get 5,000 Magicka back. That's crazy. The opposite, the weak version, 1,818 Magicka and 4,545 Magicka. Either one is good, in my opinion. Alright, Discipline Slash. This is for dual wield. So you can use this with the Chaotic Whirlwind. When you deal damage with, or this is with the two-handed, sorry. Blah, blah. When you deal damage with Reverse Slice, you can now generate up to 15 ultimate based on how much execute bonus damage is dealt. Now, I want you guys to understand something. If you are doing an execute, and you are getting 15 ultimate per execute, that means you could generate enough ultimate to drop Dawnbreaker, do this, a few times, and then get Dawnbreaker back up to where it's ready for full charge for the next fight. That is freaking stupidly crazy. Discipline Sash, another one. Piercing Spray, this one I'm very impressed with. When you deal damage with Arrow Spray, you cause the enemy's hit to take 50% more damage from the direct damage portion of your next snipe, scattershot, or poison arrow used within 5 seconds. This bow will make Poison Spray the most effective thing to use for any DPS. And I got a reason why, and I'll get to that in a second. So one's 50%, one's 45%. 5% less is not much, guys. That's a huge, crazy. Timeless Blessing. This is the Resto Staff. When you cast Blessing of Protection, the cost of your next Grand Healing, Regeneration, or Steadfast Ward used within 5 seconds is reduced by 50%. That means half the cost. Gone. All these things are really freaking insanely powerful for being the Asylum weapons and everything. But this trial sounds like it could be really tough. So either way, normal or vet mode is going to be a challenge. Alright, associate Xanon and the Clockwork Reposits near the thing. There's new dummies, and you can earn this target dummy by playing the content. So this new target dummy item, the precursor, can be obtained by finding all the precursor parts throughout the Clockwork City and in reassembling it. So once you get the whole thing put together, you'll be able to get it. Though only slightly more durable than a typical dungeon boss, its direly quips as you sharpen your blade upon it. So that's kind of fun. New motifs, we got 2 new motifs in this, both one the Apostle and one the Ebon. These are from the daily quests that are in the Clockwork City. I will be checking all this stuff out here soon. New furnishing, over 200 new furnishings have been added to the game throughout various things, so that's kind of cool. New achievements. Clockwork City comes with 40 new achievements to pursue and 6 new titles to unlock. New change to Morrowind, we are getting a new Battleground, so if you have Morrowind, the expansion or chapter, you will be able to play through this new game mode. It's called Crazy King. It's a domination, very similar to domination, except it's a single capture point that moves around the map, so it's kind of cool. That's pretty neat, actually. Horns of the Reach. New motives added to the Horns of the Reach. These are styles that you can only get by obtaining the chapter styles by completing the dungeons, and the amount of them increase with the difficulty. So you can get them. The greater difficulty, the more chances you have of getting the styles. So Dreadhorn and Bloodforge both drop in the respective dungeons. Next up, Transmutation. A new way of altering your equipment is available in this update. Transmutation allows you to permanently change the trait of an item of one of your choosing. This requirement, the requirements to utilize transmutation is as follows. Transmutation can be done at a transmutation station, which is a new service station found in the Brass Fortress. Home furnishing versions of these stations may also be purchased from the Rich Voucher, from Rollis Halu, whatever, the Master Rich Merchant. And then transmutation requires transmutation crystals, precious resources occasionally received for successfully completing veteran PvE activities such as pledges, trials, and arenas, and several PvP sources such as Rewards of the Worthy, Battleground, and so it sounds like these things are going to be not received every time you complete a pledge, trial, or arena, but has a chance of dropping. So I'm going to guess it's more like when you go to, you know, the pledge boxes and you open up one of the crates, you have a chance of getting a recipe. I have a feeling it's going to be the same thing with this. You're going to have a chance of getting one of these transmutation crystals that's just going to allow you to change the trait on something. So, transmutation requires having previously researched the desired trait. So if you want to put Nirnhoned on something, you have to learn the trait first by researching it through your crafting. Then you can change the trait on something else. Jewelry cannot be transmuted. Only armor and weapons. Alright, trait tracker. Along with this, the ability to change traits, equipment tooltips now have an icon next to them, next to the trait that communicates the trait's status. Can research, ornate, intricate trait changed. No icon, no trait researched. So it basically shows you whether or not you can learn it. Crafting writs, turn insight, universalization. Within the Clockwork City base game update, you may now turn in your crafting writs at any writ turn insight throughout the world, regardless of crafting rank. So we're going to be able to do that. That's kind of cool. 2 new houses are being added to the game. The Observatory Prior and the something. Both of these notable homes hold 350 traditional furnishings, 700 with ESO Plus, 5 special furnishings, 10 with ESO Plus, 40 collectible furnishings, 80 with ESO Plus, and 5 special collectibles, as well as up to 24 other players. So these are going to be some big houses. Observatory Prior and the Prior Pinnacle. Both of these sound really good. One's in the Clockwork City, and the other one is located in Rothgar. Champion point increase. To all those champion fanatics out there, we are getting 30 new points added to our champions points to distribute. That's going to be crazy because that's going to make the game a little bit more easier for some of us, because we'll be able to use those 30 points in other places. As I said, now I can put those 30 points into magic-based things. Moving on, available templates. So this is for templates when you're playing on the PTS. I won't find out any of this stuff until the next iteration. Art and animation, transmutation. It says here, after running a dungeon or trial with a group, then attempting to change a trait, this will crash the game basically. System mails, blah blah blah. Yeah. Battlegrounds combat gameplay. So there is some ward imbalances. Deceptive Predator, Falcon Swiftness morph. This morph now increases the duration to 14 seconds in addition to granting minor evasion. Grain balance, this one, the range of the ability in this morph to 28 meters from 22, so it's got a greater range. And then bursting vines, they increase the projectile speed of this morph by 100% and increase the heal from this morph by 10%. So that's actually pretty good right there. Winter's Embrace, you can now place 3 frozen gates instead of just 1. This might actually make Winter's Embrace or the frozen gate thing actually worthwhile now, because we can place 3 instead of 1. It'll make it easier for use. They did some fixes and improvements to a few things. Nothing really crazy here. They fixed an issue where some of the visual effects of this ability and its morphs were not aligned with the actual location of the healing cone. So they fixed some delve stuff. Moving on. And Dark Brotherhood and the monsters. Itemization, collectibles, horns, blah, blah, blah. We're going to get into the stuff here soon. Combat balances. So, just so you guys know, there was some changes made to some of the classes and some of the gear. We'll get to that too. They reduced the duration of stun applied to you when you are knocked off a mount to 2 seconds from 3 seconds. That's good. Dragon Knight got some changes. Ardent Flame, Carterize, Infernal Morph. Increase the speed of the projectile from this morph by approximately 50%, and the projectile can now target the casting Dragon Knight. This is a heal. This is actually a really cool heal that the Dragon Knight gets. So this makes the Dragon Knight healing a little bit more effective with this ability, because that Carterize is going to throw those fireballs 50% faster. So that's really good. Petrify. This ability in this morph no longer do a 30-second disorientate. Instead, they stun and cannot be blocked or dodged, and they can be placed on multiple targets. We also reduced the cost of this ability in morphs by approximately 23%. Earth and Heart, that Purify just got useful in PvP. Shifting Standard, I'm not a big fan of it, but this is kind of cool. They increased the duration to 25 seconds, and the standard can be shifted an unlimited amount of times. Shifting the standard no longer refreshes the duration, and the cost of its morphs is now the same as the base ability. So they reduced the cost of shifting standard and basically made it to where you can move it unlimited times. Alright, Nightblade Shadow. Manifestation of Terror. This and its aspect of Terror morph and the Mass Hysteria, both of these are the morphs to that. Both got changes. So this morph now fears up to 6 enemies per trap, up from 2, and now the trap no longer triggers as a crowd control immune enemy walks over it. Enemies can now see an initial projectile making the traps, marking the trap's location. This one, the morph no longer fears an additional enemy, but only fears the same amount as the base, which is 2, and it continues to apply minor maim, which is kind of cool, because this one is more tanky than, and Manifestation is more like of a DPS crowd control kind of thing, so that's kind of really cool. Siphoning, Agony. This morph and its abilities are now an ally targeted spell that heals them over time and damages you for 50% of the amount healed. When also renamed, we also renamed it to Benevolent Offering. So Agony was this thing that basically locked enemies in place. Now they've changed it, and it's something that you apply to your allies. One's called Malefic Wreath, the other one's called Prolonged Suffering. Malefic Wreath, this morph now grants minor mending when it deals damage to you, and has been renamed to Healthy Offering. Nightblades just became great healers, hands down. They get minor mending whenever they cast this onto somebody. That's awesome. Now, the other one, Prolonged Suffering, this morph now decreases the amount of self-inflicted damage dealt to you by 35% of the amount healed, and has been renamed Shrewd Offering. So, I think both of those are really cool. I think that it does make the Nightblade stand out as a healer now. And the Soul Siphon. Increase the distance an ally can travel away from you before the heal tether snaps to 25 meters, up from 20. So they increase the duration, or the length of that one. Sorcerer's Crystal Blast. Crystal Shards morph. Increase the splash damage of this morph by approximately 25%. Ruin Prison. Ruin Cage. This morph now deals damage to the enemies if its stun lasts its full duration. And then the defensive morph, or Ruin morph, continues to place a buff on you that'll stun the next enemy that hits you. And so both are pretty good still. Dawn's Wraith. Eclipse. Finally, guys, it got some stuff done to it. The ability in Morphs now return damage whenever the affected enemy casts a direct damage attack. If it still grants crowd control immunity when it ends and can be removed by break free, Eclipse can now be placed on an unlimited amount of enemies as a baseline effect. So you have two morphs, Total Dark and Unstable Core. Total Dark, this morph now heals you when the target casts a direct damage attack. And the other one, this morph adds area of effect damage when the effect ends. So one is definitely healer related and one is, or maybe healer tank related, I would say. The Total Dark Unstable Core is definitely a DPS related one. And that Unstable Core might be really good in PvP, because when you apply it to an enemy, if they break free, boom, they just did damage to all their allies. Solar Barrage. This morph has now has a cast time that matches the base ability and now causes you to pulse point blank area of effect damage every 2 seconds for 6 seconds. That's actually pretty good. New changes to the weapon bow, acid spray, increase the damage over time of this morph by approximately 65%, guys. That bow ability that you can get up there now just made acid spray something phenomenal for DKs. DKs get an increase of poison damage anyways, and an increase of damage over time. So this just made the DK with this bow become a god. Okay, and I'm not talking like super godlike, I'm talking mega godlike. The ability on this has just been increased by 65%. That means it will do as much damage as Noxious Breath does, as your Poison Talons does. This is going to be insane. It's going to make Endless Hail look like a joke. It's going to make Poison Injection look like a dream. Because it's going to have comparable damage. But this is crazy. Now, I myself am excited. I can't wait to get in and test it. And when I do test it, I will let you guys know in a video how much actual real damage it does now over time. Because that's sick. 65% is just insane. New combat fixes improvements. They updated the information of elemental status effects help menu to remove incorrect information and clarify how the system works. They fixed an issue where they revive and immediately cast the last ability you had queued up right before your character died. I'm glad they fixed that. Dragon Knight, they did do some fixes here, nothing really major. Path of Darkness fixed an issue where some of the visual effects from this ability and its morphs were not aligned with the actual location of the path. That's a good one. Shadow Cloak fixed an issue where this casting of this ability and its morphs was displaying an error text. Soul Siphon fixed an issue where the rank 1 of this ability, yeah, I remember that one. So just some fixes here, guys. Two-handed did get a nerf. The Forceful passive, the damage that is dealt by this passive ability will no longer double dip in damage modifiers and will no longer critically strike. That's so sad. That means when you hit the 3 other targets, they can't crit. You can only crit on the main one, but it's still a powerful thing. Stampede fixed an issue where this morph could apply multiple snare debuffs whenever it was recast. Excuse me. That's good. Thriving Chaos Lacerate Morph. They fixed the issue of this visual effect and this morph for persisting longer than actual duration. They also fixed the issue where the morph was displaying incorrect icons for buff trackers. That's good. Arrow Spray fixed an issue where this and its visual effects were not aligned with the actual location of core damage or the damage cone. And in this one here, they where the debuff icon was not showing it was being applied. So that's some pretty cool changes here. I could go on. They also changed the Undaunted. Undaunted now has 10 ranks instead of 9. And when you unlock the 10th one, you will unlock the Undaunted title. So you still get all your stuff by rank 9. Rank 10 gives you the Undaunted title. That's kind of cool. So I'm going to have to work towards getting that. Alliance War, Continuous Attack, and Support. They fixed some bugs there with those things. And they also fixed the Reposit. They updated the Passive Abilities tooltip to better indicate its proc condition, which is really good. Now, itemization balances. Look at this, guys. The Master and Maelstrom unique enchantments have been rebuilt as item sets, with new Asylum weapons allowing suit as an item set and not an enchantment. This means you can now safely re-enchant, or safely enchant and re-enchant these weapons and still gain the special ability benefit. Guys, this means you can put a poison glyph on your on your weapon, your Maelstrom and Master weapons. You can put those kind of things on there. That is crazy. That means you can put extra weapon damage on them. You can do all kinds of stuff. That's going to be crazy because they're still going to gain, because they are considered item sets now. So they're set. They have set bonuses. So they redid the sets too. Titanic Cleave. This is the Master Two-Handed Cleave. Increase the damage bonus from to Cleave's direct damage to 2,000 from 688. That is crazy. Oh my god, I can't wait to get one. Puncturing Remedy, this is the one-handed sword and board master. Master weapons, by the way, drop in Dragonstar Arena in Craglord. And Maelstrom weapons drop in the Maelstrom Arena in the Rothgore expansion or Orsinium expansion. And to get them is not easy. These are very challenging tasks to get these. I wish they would have added them to normal mode and vet mode. That would have been really cool. And the normal mode made them a little weaker, you know, kind of thing like they did with the other. That would have been awesome, because then people could still get these. They would just get weaker versions. But this is cool. Increase the amount of heal from puncture to 2,500 from 2,150, and it now grants spell and physical resistance equal to the amount healed. So that means it's going to give you 2,500 extra spell and physical resistance for 3 seconds whenever you apply puncture. There is no cooldown. It just gives it to you for 3 seconds. So that means you can sit there and just spam puncture and keep boosting your keep your resistances up 2,500 extra. That's pretty cool. Stinging Slashes, increase the damage bonus of Twin Slashes bleed to 1,500 each tick from 516. So that means you do an extra 1,500 damage with your bleed. That, yeah. I want a Master Dual Wield weapon. And I want one of those Asylum dual wield weapons that makes the Twin Slashes bleed last 10% longer. Because that would be insane. Master Destro, increase the damage bonus from Destructive Touch direct damage to 1,500 from 516. That's really good. And then Rampaging Slash, this is the Maelstrom ones now. Your low slash will now cause your next fully charged heavy attack used within 5 seconds to restore an additional 2,000 magicka and stamina. So that means if you use Heroic Slash or Deep Slash, every time you use it, you do a fully charged heavy attack, you get 2,000 magicka and stamina back. Resource management on tanks would be so much easier with a Maelstrom sword. Alright, regeneration, this is the Maelstrom Restro. Increase the amount of magicka restored by regeneration critical heals to 800. From 481. So increases the amount of magicka restored by regeneration critical heals to 800. So every time you cast this, you get 800 magicka. That's crazy. Now, if you guys didn't notice, they didn't mention the Master Resto Staff up here. I don't think it needed any changes. It was already way powerful because it basically gives stamina back with your healing springs, as well as magicka. So you give both magicka and stamina back. That's why it was. So it's already super powerful. The following patch notes are part of the changes in Update 15, but we wanted to call them out for now for clarity and to avoid confusion with many recent changes. They go into here and explain these changes. The Dragonstar and Maelstrom Arena will now drop weapons for the item sets in the final arenas, in addition to the existing rewards. So you will still get your Maelstrom weapons and your Maelstrom, your Master stuff, but you also, on top of that, get the Healer's Habit, Archer's Mind, and Footsman's Fortune, and Destruction Mastery item set weapons from Dragonstar, and from Maelstrom Arena you will get the Glorious Elemental Succession, Glorious Defender, Hunt Leader, Pariah Propellum, Permafrost, and Winterborn weapons also at the final boss, after the final boss. These weapons will be a blue quality in normal mode and purple quality in vet mode. Some of these sets are really, really powerful, depending on who's using them and what you're using them for. Some can be really good. Maelstrom and Master weapons and these Asylum weapons just became game-changing because of how well they're going to be able to help players make their builds better. Now, the problem with it is that you're going to make a decision now. Are you going to run 2 5-piece sets with the Maelstrom stuff, or are you going to run a 3-piece jewelry set, a 5-piece set, 2 Maelstrom, or a Maelstrom and Master weapon, a Maelstrom weapon with a Asylum weapon, a Master weapon with an Asylum weapon, or so you can maintain that 5-piece with a monster set and a 3-piece jewelry? What are you going to do? Because now we got a lot of options. This just made these things super viable. especially now with the changes they made to them, and now that they're considered item sets and can have enchantments applied to them as well. This is crazy power. Alright, they go on down here talking about some more itemizations. They fixed the issue where the reduction of spell and weapon damage applied by weakening enchantments was being treated as a buff instead of a debuff. They fixed the issue where the visual effects of fiery weapon enchantment were displaying incorrectly. And they did some item set changes. Defiler, this monster summoned by this set now spawns at the enemy instead of next to you. Earthgore now procs, shows a telegraph for the allies. Fasala's Guile, fixed an issue where this item set would aggro neutral monsters around you. And then Swordslinger, they fixed an issue where this item set was not modifying the momentum skill, which is good because that really drove me nuts when I used Rally with it when I was playing my... When I play my Templar, sometimes I run Swordslinger, and I run Swordslinger with 5 pieces of Plague Doctor, so I get the benefit from both, and then I run like a 1-piece monster set thing to give me just that little bit of extra. But when I do that, I do it for PvP, and I would like to be able to get that momentum, that 400 extra weapon damage on that heal. That would be nice. In Torag's Pact, they fixed an issue where this item set's bonus was not applying to the poisoned weapon enchantment. That's good that they fixed that. And in Viper's Sting, they fixed an issue where the damage from this item set's proc couldn't be blocked. So it can be blocked now, guys, at 6,400 poison damage over time. That's kind of good. Moving on, we got a few minor like art and animation fixes. They did a lot of changes to armor and how it fits on characters, which is really good because now it doesn't like stick through stuff and all that kind of thing. That I'm glad they did. Going on down here, there's not a whole lot of other changes, to be honest, other than what you guys are, what we know. I mean, there's not a whole lot else in here. This update has been we've been hard at work improving the performance of the client. This is one that we need to know about, though. We've overhauled how the client handles animations, significantly reducing memory requirements. Additionally, we've made significant optimizations to the scene graph. Together with the two additions, have resulted in significant gains in frame rate and improved load times into areas with many characters and/or buildings. Made improvements to the overall frame rate, improved the load times into areas with many characters and/or buildings, and fixed the number of infrequent game crashes. That is awesome. Now if they do that, if it carries over into the consoles like they say, this will be great for console players. They did do some fixes to some quests, some other areas. They did some UI changes. Nothing really major in here, to be honest. Yeah, nothing really major. I read through a lot of this, but I'm getting to the point where I'm starting to forget. Gameplay issues. By the way, they fixed the issue where the champion UI would display as if no points were allocated. I'm glad they fixed that. And then the enchants on weapons will no longer appear to be inactive out of charge while viewed in a loot window. So that'll be good too. You run out of them, blah, blah, blah. Oh, gamepad mode. This is one I'm really glad that they rearranged some elements of the camera settings menu to reduce how often the camera shifts. They fixed an issue that prevented some tutorials from scrolling. Where is it? Fixed an issue where you would not be prompted to import housing permissions for a newly acquired home. Nope, that's not the one I was looking for. Oh, here it is. Fixed an issue where switching between gamepad and keyboard UI would not fully update the death cap UI. That I'm glad they fixed. That was driving me crazy. Because I do play with gamepad sometimes, not all the time, but I do have one sitting right next to me, and I'm glad they fixed that. Other than that, it's just mostly game improvements, things like that. But those changes, guys, these things that they did to the item sets for Master and Maelstrom and Asylum weapons, where they are now considered an item set and you can apply glyphs to them, has just made these things come out of the mothballs and became main used weapons for everyone. People are going to be farming these things like crazy because people are going to want that Master two-handed, because that Master two-handed, that cleave, that increasing the damage bonus to cleave's direct damage to 2,000, or up by an extra 2,000. So when I use cleave on my tank, I do like 4 to 5k. When I use it on my my Stam Sorc, I can hit upwards to 8K. Could you imagine now? I can hit upwards to 12 to 15K, and if I crit, I could probably hit upwards to like 16 to 20. I want a Titanic Cleave. I want a Master two-handed. I want the Master one-handed sword and shield. I want that stinging slash. It increases the twin slash's bleed. I want one of each. I really do. And the fact that we can change the traits on him is also super beneficial. So that's pretty much it for the patch notes, guys. I know it's been a long time for a lot of us waiting. I'm just glad that we finally have them and I could cover it with you guys. If you guys have any questions or comment, please let me know in the comments below. I will give you guys what information I find out when I get on PTS. I'm going there right now. As soon as I get done recording this, I'm going there and I'm getting on. This will be uploading while I'm on the PTS. So, but yeah, that's it for the video. If you guys enjoyed this video, hit that like button. If you guys want to see more videos by me, hit that subscribe button. Other than that, I want to thank you all for watching. Until next time, have a wonderful day, and this guy will see you all later. Bye.